Good evening and welcome to episode 155 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz. We got the special shirt going on tonight. I'm representing the Catholic Boy shirt. Thank you, Paul Halloran, for the Catholic Boy shirt, representing that fantastic horse. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have a great show to talk to you about this Saturday at Churchill Downs. It is Stephen Foster Day. Many fantastic stake races, a great pick five to discuss, and we'll start all that in just a minute. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right hand side of the screen. Smash that thumbs up button. That like button will tell YouTube it's a great show. Also hit that notification bell so that you know new content will arise to you on time. You can see on my name tag at H Kravitz is my Twitter handle at the bottom of the screen. H Kravitz Horse at gmail.com is my email. Of course, you can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Anchor. A few people have been asking me about the online store. Let me show you a few things here about the online store, which is going to open up next week for sure. 100% positive. The HHH Racing Podcast online store will open up next week. Let me show you a few items that are going to be there. You'll be able to get, there's a t-shirt you'll be able to purchase. Very excited about that. I'll show you some other items real quick. We're going to have a hoodie that's going to be available. Let me show you that as well. Just bringing these items up one at a time. There's the hoodie that you'll be able to purchase. Let's see what else here. We've got hats. We've got a quarter zip. Interested in a quarter zip? We got that for you also. Again, these are just some sample items here. There's the quarter zip. Anyway, the online store is going to have a lot of really exciting items for people to purchase at a very reasonable price. Hopefully, you're going to support the channel. We'll give you information about the online store. I'll send out a link. Everything will be starting, I would say, Tuesday or Wednesday next week for sure, 100%. Also, the Race Day blog. The Race Day blog, now is the great time to buy at the start of the month. So starting, tomorrow, July 1st, the Race Day blog will resurface again. So go to patreon.com. It's a great tip sheet. It's very inexpensive. Not only do you get ABC grids with pick fours, pick fives, and also price plays and spot plays, but also you get Pete's stats of the week. There is no one around that gives you this enough information that is this good for this low a price. So I highly recommend you check out the Race Day blog. Again, wait till tomorrow to sign up for the Race Day blog because you automatically will get charged for the Race Day blog on the first of every month. So if you're interested in the Race Day blog, which you should be, do not sign up tonight on Thursday. Sign up starting tomorrow, Friday, July 1st, so you won't get charged a second time. I can't recommend the Race Day blog enough. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into our let's meet our guests for tonight. I'm very excited because we have a great crew with us. My usual co-hosts from the East Coast, we've got Pete Visco, and from the Saratoga Special, Paul Halloran. Guys, how we doing tonight?
Good. What's happening, Howard?
Howard, you
Doing
win
good.
the shirt game. You win the shirt game tonight.
Paul, I appreciate the shirt, man. It's awesome. I love it. Let's not waste any time, guys. We've got a great show tonight. I want to bring in our special guest. He's been on before. He's been requested to come on again by many of our viewers and listeners. He has a podcast on the fairgrounds. Some great work down there. He's also, from what I hear, an excellent Little League coach. So if you guys need advice on how to coach the Little League baseball players, this guy's about to win a state championship probably with his youngster on the T-ball team. Let's bring him in from New Orleans, Chad Schexnayder. Chad, how you doing tonight?
What's going on, guys? What's going on? It's a hell of an intro there, Howard. Put me in the Hall of Fame for Little League.
Chad, when it's first and second, are we teaching them to hit it to the right side of the field to move those runners along? Or is that too advanced at this point?
Earl Weaver, baby. Swing away. Swing away.
There you go. There's no sacrificing. There's no moving runners along.
No.
We're just swinging for the fences, right?
We're just swinging, trying to make contact these days, Howard. Just trying to make contact.
There you go. It's T-ball. We get it. Chad, we got a great card on Saturday. It's Stephen Foster Day. The field size is a little bit small for the Stephen Foster itself, but you have a fantastic field. Before we get into the pick five, is there anything that, when you start looking at the PPs of the sequence overall, anything that just, that was brought to your attention right away?
Not really. Just the fact that there's not going to be any turf racing is a little strange, but I get it. Horse safety is a paramount concern these days, and I think that eats up some of the entries and maybe makes some of the small fields. But look, Fairgrounds had kind of the same problem. It's owned by Churchill too, so they load up the front half of the card with those maiden races and allowance races, and then they get the meat part of the card with the stakes. I think it's a good stakes lineup, and I think definitely some spots you can make some money in for sure.
Well, without the turf courses, it's really interesting because there are some horses that are entered, especially one particular race that you would think wanted turf. It's a little bit of a guessing game. The turf situation is a nightmare. For those of you that don't know, of course, they spent $10 to $12 million at Churchill putting in a turf course that had some Bermuda in it. The weather was not good in the spring in the Midwest. It was cold. It was damp. The grass place didn't grow the way it should have. The inside 3 or 4 paths of the turf course when they were running on it were a complete disaster. It was like a black hole. You couldn't run it. They stopped running on the turf. They were planning on running on the turf for this last weekend, but they had some horses run over it in the mornings, didn't like the way they reacted to it. So they're going to wait and hopefully run on what they're deeming a big Arlington Million Day in August, which for certain reasons I will not be covering on this show. We'll get into that later, but I can't cover the Arlington Million Day card at I don't know if it's be Churchill or I heard maybe Colonial. Who the hell knows where that's going to be? But it's a disaster. But anyway, the card on Saturday is big. It's fantastic. It's a lot of great fields. Let's jump right in, guys, to this pick five sequence as I go ahead and bring up the banners on the bottom of the screen. Of course, if you have any questions, we have a lot of people watching. Any questions for Chad, Pete, Paul, or myself, or anything in general about the card, please make sure you type them in the live chat. We're going to be covering these 5 races like a glove. Hopefully, we're going to help you find some winners. We all have Penn State. Scott is here. We've got Racing Downwind. Racing Downwind is here. Hello. How you doing today? Christine Race, one of our great viewers. Christine, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm sure we have many other viewers to come. Last thing, real quick before we start. We did a taped show earlier with Pete Visco and Jim Pilars and myself. If you're interested in Woodbine's card this Saturday, it is a fantastic card. It's loaded fields. It's a great pick 5 sequence they have at Woodbine. Check out the HHH Racing podcast for the Woodbine preview. Again, it was a taped show, so we did not involve the viewers in that particular show based on time constraints. But it's a great show. It's less than an hour. Check out the Woodbine preview on the channel. That's episode 154. All right, guys, let's jump in here. There are the picks on the bottom of the screen for the first race. Chad, as the guest, you're going to be going first in the first leg here as I'm going to go full screen. The first race of the Stephen Foster Day card, pick 5. Now, there's 2 pick 5s you want to mention. This is the all stakes pick 5 we're going to be talking about. This is a pick 5 that starts in race 6. It's the Tepin Stakes. It starts approximately 3:23 Eastern Standard Time. It's for 3-year-old, 1 mile on the dirt. Of course, every race you're going to see here is on the dirt. This is for the fillies, I believe. And if one of you guys know for sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this race was intended to be on the dirt anyway. There's 7 horses in this race. You got a pretty heavy morning line favorite in the number 4, Wicked Halo, for Steve Asserson and Tyler Gaffney-Leone. And Chad, that is who you're opening with today's show. You're going with the favorite.
I am, and I didn't have, when I made my picks, I didn't have the morning lines. So when I sent you my picks, I this is kind of the first time I'm going to see a lot of these morning lines. This race was originally scheduled for the turf.
Okay, it was. Thank you.
But they told them, they told the racing office told the connections, I think, I don't know how many hours in advance. That's why Wicked Halo ended up here. So if it was on the turf, you wouldn't see Wicked Halo in this spot. But, I did go with, obviously, the favorite. She's just the one I trust really the most. I mean, her last 2 starts, she hasn't run on Lasix. A lot of these horses have run on Lasix their last couple of starts. They're having to come off of it for this start. I think she could set a perfect stalking trip. There's some speed in there. And I really don't trust a whole lot of other horses in here. I mean, I saw Patna down here at the fairgrounds. She's obviously, gotten better. as the year has gone on. She's got early speed. Joe Sharp, his horses have been running very, very well at Churchill, really all spring. He's really one of the only ones trainers from down here in New Orleans, besides, Steve Asmussen and Brad Cox, whose horses have run well at Churchill. A lot of my New Orleans guys, have really struggled at Churchill this meet, the Stalls and Amos's and Dallas Stewarts of the world. But no, Wicked Halo, leading rider, Tyler Gaffleon, I don't think it's really that strong of a race. There's really not much for her to beat in here. I think she trips out. I used Joe Sharp second, from the rail, and I threw Padma in third. Just I didn't really trust Sandstone too much as a trainer change there. She's on the outside. I didn't like that last race. I went back and watched it. I know she was the favorite, and she's run well at Churchill.
Yeah, my only concern with the 4, and I have the 4 in second. We all have the 4 either first or second. I mean, she's the moto horse here. My only concern is the distance. I know that sounds strange, Chad, because this horse is by gun runner off a Tepin mare, but the bottom line is the horse has never gone beyond 7, and you think Steve has a reason for that. So although she's the class and she's got the best speed figures, I don't know. I don't think she's a lead pipe cinch in this race. Just because I'm not 100% sure about the distance.
But
You think
yeah,
they
it's
try
just
to
Wicked
stretch
Halo
her
for
out
me.
before today? No, Chad? About the stretch out? Chad, we can't hear you. Can you hear me, Chad? Okay. Pete, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, Chad couldn't hear me for some reason. Pete, let's go to you. You've got the 4 also. Anything you want to add? Are you concerned about a stretch out at all from 7 to a mile with this horse?
Not as much. I mean, you're always concerned until they do it, obviously. I mean, you never really know, but it's out of a gun runner, it's out of a Tapit mare. It's only going from 7 furlongs to a mile, so I don't it's not like it's a huge stretch out. It's not like she's going from 7 to, a mile and an eighth or something. And I think because there is so much speed in here, and this one is sort of tactical, that I think it's just going to wind up, sort of Chad said this, it should probably trip out. So I think on talent and the breeding, I think I'm not as concerned. Plus, I like the improvement. This one paired up Buyer tops. It's been improving each time. So I just think this one is still moving forward. So again, if the distance isn't troublesome in any way, then I think it's just more of a quality horse. And then it ran in that 8 bells, which that 8 bells has come up as a monster race based on some of the horses who have come back.
Yeah, Mozzarella came back at 1. You want now? Let me put us on the screen here, and we've got Chad here back to the mix here. Chad, we're all good. Sorry about that. I had a connection issue there. Chad, we were just talking about the number 4 Wicked Halo. If there were any concerns about getting the extra furlong, because Steve hasn't really stretched her out, but it doesn't seem like there's much of a concern. Pete, let's talk about the 6 Runaway Wife a little bit. Now, showing replays, everyone, it's tricky. I can't show them directly off of the DRFPP, so we're not going to be showing a lot of replays tonight. I thought Runaway Wife was very impressive. I have this horse in the mix. So does Paul. She's got to step up, but it's not the strongest field, and she did it so easily last time, Pete.
Yeah, and that was my whole thing with her was she obviously needs to step up. I mean, just from a figure standpoint, I don't think she's where she needs to be, but the field came up a little bit soft aside from the 4, I think. And if this one, like you said, this was so impressive last time out, and then even 2 back in that other maiden race, Miss Yearwood turned out to be a pretty nice horse who went in the Black-Eyed Susan, and it had some pretty nice wins. So it wasn't like that was a dud. It was a good horse. And now you're sort of cutting back again. This one's tactical. McPeak is really good in, he's good in sort of the non-big races. He's good in the non-graded stakes races. So I had some stats. I don't have them in front of me right this second, but I trust him a little more in this type of field. And this one, I think it's a flyer on a price where I'm hoping for an improve, and I'm hoping for a move forward.
If you're not familiar, these Fern Circle Stables is McPeak's main ownership group. So Leperu just rode her, and I'm telling you, she was really good last time. So I think she's got a shot. Paul, let's go to the 1. Now you have come to your senses tonight, Paul, because we had three of the 5 races. We have the same runner on top here. And by the way, Chad, I just want to let you know there are 2 things that are very much allowed on this podcast. Any animals or pets, and any children. So if your son wants to come on and make a guest appearance, He's more than welcome. No, don't be afraid to do that. We love having kids on the show. So
he's a pet at a kid.
okay. Paul, what did you like about Hardy Constitution? Because I think this horse is interesting also.
Yeah, Howard, I think the horse is in line for a big race. Good second last time. This is a good move for Joe Sharp off this type of a layoff going into a stakes race. He's 3 for 10, which is 30%, relatively small sample, but still 30%. He ran the same one-turn mile at Churchill last time, so he's, we know horses who run well at Churchill tend to keep running well at Churchill, at least on the dirt. And I just think he's got a good spot. I think it's going to be a big day for Constitution as a sire, Howard.
Okay.
As I
All right,
tease a later pick.
Yeah, I know where you're going with that.
I mean, I'm with Chad. I mean, I admittedly was kind of looking for a way to maybe beat the 4 because of the price, and I always harken back to the legendary great Harvey Pack asking a favorite to do something he's never done. So I am going to take a crack here with Joe Sharp's horse.
The only thing I don't like about it is the rail. The rail coming out of that mile chute is a little bit tricky, but I think this horse is going to take a big step forward. I really like the breeding on her. She cost $200,000. I'm going to end the conversation of this race with you, Chad. Chad, I don't know who does the morning lines, and I'm not going to. I know that Paul and Pete don't want to hear me talk about morning lines too much, but I don't get how the 2 is lower than the 1. I mean, I guess because it's Cox and Giroux and Juddmonte, but I'd be very happy to take a side bet with anyone that thinks the 2 is going to beat the 1. Chad, you've got the 1 over the 2. I mean, this 3-1 on the 2, I don't get it all, Chad. I don't.
Well, understand. I mean, the horse is 2 for 3, was 3 to 5 last time. He got 2 wins. I guess that's the reason. But the 1 does look a little classier. And look, Brad Cox last time he was putting his horse on the turf. It came off the turf, and that's the race that she won, is off the turf race. So, and she beat Fannie and Freddie, who I saw here at the fairgrounds. Let me tell you, that horse is terrible. I mean, that horse is not winning anytime soon. You can put that horse in your stable mail and bet against that horse all the time.
Wow.
That wasn't a very good field that she beat. And to be honest with you, her maiden race, she didn't beat much of a field either. I mean, here's Patna, okay, off Lasix, stakes debut. She didn't take the normal Brad Cox money in the race on Louisiana Derby Day, and she was in the first race that day, I believe, on Louisiana Derby Day. Yes. That race was won by another first-time starter named Belle Rebel for Steve Asmussen, who hasn't hit the board in 2 allowance starts since. The second place horse in that race got a 68 buyers back-to-back. It just wasn't a strong race. I mean, I just don't think she's beaten a lot. The Brad Cox money showed up last time because it was off the turf, and she just went right to the front, had a pretty easy day of it. But I mean, I put her third just because I didn't know really who else. But if I had to go back and look at it the way y'all talked about Runaway Wife, I'd probably be interested in her more underneath than Patna, to be honest with you. She'd probably be over bet.
I am for sure. Let's put us on screen just for a second because a few people I want to recognize here. Keep it real. We've got a new viewer to the podcast. Keep it real. We'll make sure we keep it real tonight. Thanks for joining the podcast. Make sure you get all your racing friends. Tell them about the HHH Racing Podcast. Appreciate you joining the show. Keep it real. We got Phil Conti here tonight. Of course, Jim Pilars, who is with me. There you go, Chad. Jim just put Fatty Freddy in his stable.
She's a money burner. I'm telling you, she's a money burner, boy.
Jim, be careful, Jim. He's a character. All right, guys, let's go on to the next race here as I go ahead and switch a few buttons. And Pete, we're going to have you go first here into race 7. Let me go to there. Let me go to the Equibase here. All right, race 7. This is the next leg into the All Stakes Pick 5 this Saturday, Churchill Downs. This is the American Derby. Now, this race was intended to go on the turf. Now, they announced that the race was going to be in the dirt before the entries came out, but you're going to see there are still some horses that, might have preferred turf anyway that are in this race on the dirt. They're going a mile and a 16th, of course, as I said, on the dirt, 2 turns. You see it's a big field here. Guys, I thought this was a very difficult race. Mainly, maybe part of it's because of the switch in services here. But you've got 11 horses in the race. The morning line favorite is a horse that I know Chad wants to talk about, and I'm going to talk about this horse too. The number 9, Rattle and Roll, 3-1 morning line, for Kenny McPeak and Brian Hernandez. This horse was one of the best plays that I personally had for the podcast all year last year when he won at Keeneland. I was there in person, 9-1. He has not progressed very much at all. I don't want to steal people's thunder. Let's go right to Pete. Pete, you've got the 8 Kuchar as your top choice.
Yeah, you were right. It's a tough field, and it's one of those fields where you could probably pick apart each of the horses in it, and you could find some pretty major flaws with each, so that it's not a pure standout, which I guess is why Rattle and Roll, who hasn't been great, is the favorite. But with the 8 Kuchar, yeah, some simple stuff. So I like that. Even though it was off the turf, I like that it has the last win at Churchill. It has win at the distance. It's been, since it's stretched out beyond the mile, it's been excellent. I mean, 77, 81, 79, not super high buyers, not super jumps, but just pretty consistent. 2 back, lost to Homebrew, and that race was obviously made to look a lot better after Homebrew won the Pegasus pretty easily last week or whatever, at Monmouth, whatever week that was. I guess. Yeah, that was. And that was a great performance.
Yeah.
2 back. Yeah, won in 97. So I think this one, if you look at those last 3, they're just pretty impressive races. Hasn't beaten a ton in the other 2, but again, is just sort of rounding into form. And and we talked about this on the show earlier from Woodbine. This is one that you're not 100% sure what he is yet. He's still lightly raced enough to where he still maybe is figuring some things out. So you could see some moves forward. And if he moves forward, since the rest of this field is a little light, I think he's got a pretty good shot, and you're getting a half decent price if you can get him at the 5-1.
Pete, do you want to quickly talk about Double Clutch, who I was happy to see that you had in second, because I think he's a fascinating horse, and here I have him in third. What did you like about Double Clutch?
Well, I liked, so obviously you see the 2 turfs, so that throws you off generally a little bit. So, but this one, if you look at the breeding, the sire is great with dirt roots. The dam is 4 for 8 in dirt roots, so it's a tiny sample size. But at least you could see on both sides of the pedigree that there is dirt there.
Half the gear jockey, sorry.
Yes,
real nice horse.
yeah. I mean, who's a turf horse, obviously, but it's still quality. Which sometimes you just
For
like
sure.
quality. This one's improved in both races. I'm not a Lannery guy, as I've probably mentioned a million times on
Yes,
here,
I've heard.
but it's still one where he at least knows this course. So it's I could take him here if no place else. And his last one, he beat I think 3 next out winners and 2 next out seconds in the last. Now again, it was on turf, it was a maiden special weight, but at least the horses that came out of it did some stuff. So it's not a race where it was a big field too, which is
very live race.
Yeah, and it's tough when maidens are in big fields. It's sort of impressive. Worked out a nice trip, and I think I'll take the shot again at 6-1 in a race where I don't think there's a standout amongst the favorites or pretty much anybody.
Well, I want to put us back on screen because I want to mention a few quick things. Then, Paul, we're going to go to you to talk about the 5. And Chad, feel free to jump in too, because I know the Churchill Downs sort of incorporated tracks real well. To me, and I think most of you would agree with this, if there's any dirt track in the entire country that is favorable to turf horses, it's Churchill. It's not a very deep surface. They tend to float over the track. We can go back, Barbaro, Animal Kingdom. We could go back over the years. Chad, it just seems like if a turf horse is going to run well over the dirt, isn't Churchill the track to do it?
And usually when a turf horse does run good on a dirt track, it's the first time they do it. When they turf, and then they go first dirt, that's when they usually pop. It's after that you see kind of a regression. So yeah, I agree with you on that. There is something I want to pitch to you guys. That's a trivia question in this race. The first winner the Gun Runner ever had. You guys know who it was?
Ooh.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Red Run, the 7 horse in this race.
Oh wow, okay, that's a great.
The first horse Red Runner had as a winner. Yeah,
he's won 240,000, so I'd say that's it's pretty good. First, let's see, he did it. Where he did it? At Churchill and over the slop. Yep, that's pretty cool. That's
awesome.
Yeah. Listen, Gun Runner is ridiculous. The other thing about the 6 I want to mention, and then we're going to go to you, Paul. He's worked well over the dirt too. So I just want people to keep in mind. I know I don't have to sell Pete. on this horse because Pete likes this horse a little bit too. But the horse has worked well over the dirt. He's got a bullet work at Keeneland. To me, that's very important. That the fact that the horse has at least run well, at least in the morning, over dirt. And I like Rusty Arnold, by the way. He's really underrated also. Anyway, I agree, Pete. I think double clutch is interesting. Paul, you're going at the horse, McLaren Vale. This is the horse I have on top also for Rudy Brissett and Louis Saez, who actually started his career under Baffert on the East Coast, or excuse me, on the West Coast, but has come east now and has done well, at least in his last start, stretching out in the slop. What is it you like about McLaren Vale?
Well, I mean, the horse broke in as a real serious horse for Baffert. Even money. He was a late starting 2-year-old last year, and they thought enough of him right away to put him in a grade 2, and he ran a decent third to 2 next out winners, and then there was a trainer change to McCarthy. Excuse me, ran another decent race, not great, and as you said, Howard, then he came east. Really, the only bad race he's had is at Churchill, so that would be a negative. And I don't like the fact that his 2 wins are both in the slop, but because he's a gun runner, we're going to assume he can run just fine on dry dirt. And I think it's going to be a big day for Constitution. I think it's going to be a big day for Louis Saez, and I think this horse at 4-1 is attractive to me.
Yeah, and Paul, he costs $625, and I think he might be the lone. I should say lone speed. I think if this horse wants the lead and they break, I think this is the horse they're going to have to chase. And frankly, as Chad said, I mean, who in this field really scares you? I wouldn't mind at all having a horse on the lead in this race. Now, Chad, we got to talk about the 2 outside horses a little bit because I think they're interesting. Let's talk about the 11. You have the 11 here on top, and I totally get it, Chad. I've got this horse as a B in boy. It's a very tough post, but it's Santana, and he's improving, and he's a dirt horse who can handle 2 turns.
So my thinking is, I know it's a tough post. I'm banking on there being a few scratches in here because I was kind of on Kuchar.
Okay.
Brissett has 2 in the race, obviously, with McLaren Vale, and I don't know which one's going to be the other Brissett, to be honest with you. I mean, they both, morning line-wise, I'm looking at it now, they're 4-1, 5-1. But the outside horse, yeah, I went to OP Firecracker. He finished. I went back and watched. He was on his wrong lead that last race, but I think he has tactical speed. I think he's going to be pushed in. There might be a couple of scratches in here. The blinkers go on, which isn't a great move for Medina, but it's a decent move enough. And I think this horse, he just fits. He just fits for me. I like the price on him. I was looking for a price pick in this race. To be honest with you, what's his price? He's 10-1. So I mean, I can roll with that. That Battaglia race has come back completely strong, right? Everybody comes out of that race as one. That race 2 back in Indiana Downs, I can tell you, I watched that race, and Camp David's a very highly regarded horse. And he gave Camp David all he wanted in that race. So I think Camp David's going to come back, and you're going to hear from him. He ran 5th in that, right there. He ran 5th in the Matt Winn. He's a pretty nice horse. And, I like the jockey change to Santana. It's just, I was looking for a price in here, somebody to pick on top. He's got to win at Churchill. I lean to him, but Kuchar was my other favorite. He's kind of my other A in there. I like everything that you said about Kuchar. He beat Older going 1.25 miles already. So I think those are the 2 that if you're short, I think I would use those 2. I'm completely against Rattle and Roll. I have been since the beginning. I know you got on him in the Breeders' Cup Futurity, but
I got him on the right time because he hasn't progressed at all since
right.
then,
I wasn't on him that day, and I'm glad I wasn't on him the next 4 or 5 starts because he usually takes some money.
Rattle and Roll is one of the 2 horses that I was completely, utterly wrong about progressing into their 3-year-old year. So the other one's Command Performance was still which that horse still can't break his maiden. So I don't know, but anyway, just for the viewers and the listeners' purposes, Chad, if this race stays together and the 11 has to break from the 11, or even let's say the 10 hole, how would that affect your opinion of this horse?
It affects it a little bit, but I think the War Campaign doesn't have a whole lot of speed. I don't think Rattle and Roll has a lot of speed, so I think he's going to be able to get over and get a decent position either way.
Fair enough.
I would just like to see a few scratches, to be honest with you, and I really don't think it'll hurt his price if there are a couple scratches.
I want to talk about a fuzzy, and then we're going to move on to the next race. I think War Campaign is interesting. Guys, this horse in his second start ran a 79. I'm not going to show the replay. He had to weave between horses. He did it really well. He beat Scotland Yard, who ran a huge race over the weekend. Pioneering Spirit did not run well at all in coming out of the same race. They ran together this weekend. I know because I was in a live money contest and needed Scotland Yard. That's a whole other debate. Why can't this horse improve? He's got a bullet in the holster. He's been off a month. I think he might be one of the better closers in this race. There could be a decent amount of speed. You could do worse than this 15-1 shot. I mean, he's already run as fast. A bunch of you guys like Kuchar. God bless you. I don't get it. I don't get Kuchar at all. I guess because it's Winstar, Giroux, and blah, blah, blah. Maybe I'm completely wrong, guys. I don't listen.
I'm gonna tell you, Howard.
Let me finish. Oh, I'm on a rant. Hold on. Kuchar has run 5 times. The best he's done is in 81. And if you believe in buyers, and War Campaign just had a second lifetime start and ran just as fast as Kuchar. So to me, the upside is much bigger with War Campaign. All right, Chad, tell me I'm wrong.
Go back and watch Kuchar's last race. At the top of the stretch, he looked like he was going to win that race by 10 lengths. He got to kind of messing around, and he was still kind of putting them away. Then the horses start coming to him, and he's like, then the jockey's like, okay, inside the 16th pole, he shakes out. He's like, all right, let's finish. And he finishes, and he only wins by 2 lengths, but then he gallops out. I mean, just keeps going. The horse hasn't put it together yet.
Yeah, but this is only a mile and 16th. You're talking about a 1.25 mile race that was off the. I mean, great. If this race was a mile and a half, Chad, I'd probably love this horse. But yeah. I'm just giving you some shit just for fun. But I don't know. I see what you're saying. I just don't understand why this horse should be 5-1. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna be 5-1. I think they're gonna bet on that horse. I really do.
Okay.
Here's a question you got. I've been asking these guys. Paul and Pete. I'm interested in your opinions on this, especially with these days we have with these stakes races at Churchill. Do you guys put a lot of stock into the on Lasix, off Lasix again? I mean, like Howard's horse, that War Campaign, run a Lasix twice, breaks the now all these horses are off Lasix. How does that incorporate into you guys' handicapping? Because for me, it's a big deal, and I've been trying to follow it. It's hell to follow, I tell you, especially on it and off, and then they go back on it, and it's just so confusing. But I really find that it's kind of part of the handicapping these days, I guess. I just wanted you guys' opinion on that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, thanks. I was just going to say, it's tough for me, like in a case like War Campaign, when they haven't been off. So they've been on, but then haven't been off, because then it's just a guessing game. But there was one, I forget if it was an earlier race, but there was one where, oh, no, it's a later race coming up. I think it was Bob's Edge coming up later, we'll talk about, where he's actually had his worst races off Lasix. So you could see something on the form that gives you a clue, because otherwise you're just shooting in the dark. And then I've been bitten many times like, hey, I'm going to throw this horse out because they're losing Lasix, and then it doesn't matter to them. So I'm with you. I think it's just a crapshoot about 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Chad, I would say that I don't pay enough attention to it. And maybe you pay a little too much based on listening to you. So maybe we should get together and get there somewhere in the middle.
Meet in the middle somewhere.
Hey, Howard, can I just say that the race flow is totally against War Campaign, number one. He's going from Lanieri, who I know Pete doesn't like, but he's certainly better than Colby Hernandez, who's winning at 6%. And I don't think there's much speed at all, Howard, to be honest with you. And that's why I think Kuchar has a big race flow advantage versus War Campaign. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, listen. There's not a lot of inside speed. I'll say that. It looks like the 3 might go. By the way, we didn't even talk about your horse, Pete.
Chris Mack. Chris Mack mentioned it in the comments.
Who won it 40-1 last time? Chad, the gentleman right below me, Pete, actually picked Kiddo Don on our live podcast a month ago, and the horse freaking won it 40-1. It was unbelievable.
So that horse closed out the pick 4 for me that day.
That's right.
You're a better man than me, Chad, because I was dead. I was so pissed because I was dead earlier on, and I was like, God damn it, I got an $80 horse, and I can't even close out a vertical or a horizontal.
Listen,
sorry.
I should be wearing a Kiddo Dan shirt like he's wearing
I just want to be clear before we move on. I think War Campaign is interesting. I'm not saying he's a likely winner. I just find the fact that he's improving. I think he can get in the money, and there's just a lot of horses I don't trust. So
I
just
have
want to
him
make
as a
that
B.
clear.
I have him as a B, Howard, for just for purposes too. I like him too.
I think he's interesting. All right, guys,
I like the
let's
unknown.
Go.
The unknown is better sometimes than the crap.
Yeah.
Like when you have a lot of crap in here.
Chad, I know you didn't ask me about the LASIX particularly, and I'm totally cool with that. I'll just put my 2 cents very quickly. I'm sort of in the camp of Paul. I probably should pay more attention to it. There's so many zillion things that you have to worry about when you handicap. I just don't focus on it that much, and I've seen it go both ways where sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. It's just another angle for me that would confuse me in general, Chad, so I don't pay a lot of attention to it. I just wanted, and Andy Serling, by the way, we asked him that specific question on the show, as Pete and Paul might remember, and he basically said the same thing. He notices it, but he doesn't, that's not his main factor. There's just too many other things to worry about. But it's a great question because it is really freaking annoying. I'll say that.
I like hearing other horse players' opinions on it because I'm in the boat of I probably do pay too much attention to it, so I want to know if other people are too, basically.
I wish it would be simpler, answer that question, but who knows? All right, let's go to race 8, guys. This is the Fleur de Lis Stakes. This is a grade 2. And Paul, we're gonna have you go first. It's a grade 2. This is for the older fillies and mares. 1 1/8, $350,000 is the purse. It's a very small field of 5. I think we all remember what happened a month ago on the show. We talked about this race quite a bit. And there was a major, shocking upset when She's All Wolf won the preview for this race. The morning line favorite for Saturday is She Dares the Devil, a real nice horse from Brad Cox and Florent Giroux. Paul, you're going with a fresh face, a horse that completely freaked last time at Pimlico, Super Quick, who lived up to her name with a huge effort last time.
Yeah, and I don't think that was that strong a field. And obviously, the bounce brigade will be out there telling me that the horse is going to regress. And whenever I see a horse run a number so far off character, I want to see what happens in between races, and I want to see at least 2 or 3 workouts because I really do think that can go a long way in mitigating against the bounce. And this horse has had 3. They've all been at Churchill. Obviously She Dares the Devil is the horse, but you're looking at 2 starts this year, both on the lead, 3rd, 2nd, lost to Pauline's Pearl both times, and Pauline's Pearl certainly did not run well last time, getting beat by that horse that knocked us all out of the pick everythings. She's All Wolf. I think that I don't think you're going to need a 107 to win this race. Frankly, She Dares the Devil is going to be the heavy favorite, and is run a 101, and that was 2 years ago as a 3-year-old. So
you think she's going to have you really think she's going to be a heavy favorite here, Paul? Because she's only 9-5 in the morning line, and your horse is 2-1.
I think that 5 for 6 at Churchill, Brad Cox, Giroux. I think should be a comfortable favorite, put it that way.
Okay.
So, you got Giroux, who's Cox's number 1 guy, and I mean I like Joe Talamo a lot personally as a jockey. I'm on a kind of a love-hate relationship with him. So, but I certainly not that it's a factor in my handicapping, but I do love seeing those powder blue and brown silks of Mrs. Whitney as well.
Chad, should we read anything to the fact that Giroux is sticking with She Dares the Devil? I mean, there's no way that he was probably going to come off She Dares the Devil to ride Super Quick, but it is worth mentioning at least that he was on Super Quick last time, and if he really thought she was the up and coming monster that she was at Pimlico, I guess you could make the argument that Giroux would jump ship, but he does stay with She Dares the Devil.
Yeah, and it's Brad Cox. That's his main guy. He's not going to leave that horse, even if he does think Super Quick with Norm Cassie is really good. I'm like you guys, where did that race come from? I mean, the horse wasn't even in the 90s by I figured. Runs a 107. I mean, you're right. The bounce guys are going to be all over it, but there's other speed in here. And look, She Dares the Devil does her best work on the front end too. So this pace could get really, really hot up front because I think they're going to want, a couple of these Super Quicks going to go. She Dares the Devil. I don't think she's going to be. I mean, she wants to go too. And Brad Cox is saying, I've been trying to read about Brad Cox, what he's saying about her, because, these horses get up there 5 years old, 6 years old. They start thinking about becoming mamas and not becoming race horses. So,
yeah.
The fact that she's 0 for 2 this year, I know she's got second and third, worries me a little bit. But the way Cox is talking about her, she's training great, and he's good on these big days. And I like that, the fact that, it's at Churchill, it's at her home track. She walks out of her stall. She skipped that, the race where she's all wolf, basically, ranged up and went through there. That's a weird run race in the stretch too, just the way all that kind of finished up. But I don't know if I want anybody out of there. So, and I just can't bring myself to this super quick horse. I mean, I know she's been on the lead, but she's not getting easy lead in this race like she did before. So her class will get tested. And man, I don't know. I mean, I do like the fact of out of that race, this is what intrigues me. She's all wolf out of the Shawnee, only had 1 work since then. Ava's Grace had 1 work since then. Pauline's Pearl has had 3 works since that race. So I think Steve got pissed off and was like, what happened to you? And Steve is usually one to kind of dial back. He put 3 works into this horse since that last race. So something may have been up. Rosario goes back on, may make a little bit of a difference. I didn't think that was the greatest ride in the world by Luis Saez, to be honest with you. Didn't break well and got hurted and whatever. So Rosario goes back on. And Steve Asmussen working this horse 3 times since that race kind of tells me he's expecting a better effort out of Pauline's Pearl.
Chad, I got it. You read my mind so well. Let me jump in, and then Pete will have you talk here. I don't think She Dares the Devil's getting the lead. If I'm Joe Talma, I'm just going. I mean, there's no way. I would have a hard time believing She Dares the Devil is getting the lead. Now, can She Dares the Devil win off the pace? I mean, she's done it a bunch of times before, but I totally agree with you, Chad. I'm just against her on Saturday. She's going to have to chase a very fast pace. The 3 is going to be up close too. I don't think she's nearly the same. I'm not sure the extra distance actually is going to help her either. She's going to be the favorite. She Dares the Devil obviously is on my ticket, but there's a lot of things I do not like about this horse on Saturday. I probably just put She Dares the Devil in the winner's circle, but I don't know. She's just not the same. Pete, you've got the horse that I love in this spot. I don't know what happened last. Well, I actually do know what happened. Chad already mentioned it. It was a weird ride. It was a weird race. I'll let you talk about Pauline's Pearl. This is my top pick also.
Honestly, it's funny because this is a race where there's 5 good horses, which is great, but I don't trust any of them. So I wasn't confident in any of them, which is why I was sort of going backwards. We're saying, who do I trust who do I not trust the least or whatever. I'm probably making the double negatives wrong there. But with Pauline's Pearl, I just thought it's one of those where it's almost want to toss it because it is funky. Like you said, the ride was bad. The figure came back terrible, just had no punch. And off of 3 really good races, but 2 fantastic races against really good company. And I'm like, there's no way to regress like that for no apparent reason. And I love the point that Chad made about the works. It was almost like, hey, I got to figure out if there's something wrong with this horse, or she just had a bad day and you move on with it and you bring her back to fight another day. And so I just sort of went with her saying, okay, let's throw a line through that last one. It's a negative form line, but not a consistent, something that's going to be consistent this point forward. And we're going to get back to those races 2 and 3 back.
Yeah. I don't need to tell Asmussen and Rosario how to train and ride, but if I were the owner, I would tell Rosario, take back. Let the 1 and 5 are going to go. The 3's probably going to go. Take back, make one big run. You won't get in any trouble. It's a 5-horse field. You're a better horse than the 2. You're the best pure. She's not really a closer, but she can definitely come from behind. I don't know if She Dares the Devil can do that. I think you're going to get more than 5-2, guys. I think she's going to be like 3-1. I love Pauline's Pearl in this spot. I think she's going to trip out. We'll just have to see because she's going to have to run much better than she did last time, but I think she will. Guys, let's go on to the next race here. And Chad, we're going to have you go first in race 9 as I bring up the entries for race 9. Now, this is the penultimate leg of this pick 5. There is also a late pick 5. This is not the late pick 5. This is the all stakes pick 5 that ends in race 10. Chad, this is the Kelly's Landing overnight stakes. It is not a grade stake, but it's a really nice field. The purse is $160,000. They're going 6.5. They are going an extra half furlong on the dirt, which might make a difference for some of these horses. It's a big field. There's a lot of familiar names in this field. It's 9 horses. The morning line favorite is Aloha West, the Breeders' Cup Sprint champion, but he's really not come back the same or Chad as he just faced 2 ridiculous monsters with impossible spots. You're going with a horse that really hurt me last time. I'm not going to make the same mistake again. Bango.
Yeah, Bango was part of that pick 4 ticket that I hit with Keto Dan and going against American Revolution that day and all that. But listen, I'll tell you this race is named for Kelly's Landing. If Bango wins this will be his race. The stakes race will be named after him.
The Bango next year.
It'll be the Bango going forward because this horse is unbelievable at Churchill Downs. And to be honest with you, it made me go look at Kelly's Landing PPs to be like, why does Kelly's Landing have a stakes race named after? Yeah. Bango's done just as much, if not more, than Kelly's Landing has in his career. So, especially at Churchill Downs, I love this horse. This horse wins a lot, and he never gets bet. And I love those kind of horses. And it was interesting last time out. I think it was 3-1 or maybe 4-1 morning line, and they let him go off at 10-1. He broke a little slow that day. Tyler got him right, and I mean he just exploded through the lane like good horses do. And I think when these horses, Greg Foley, these older horses like this get good, they kind of stay good. And now he's third off the layoff. He's on his home track. Everything just points to him having another good race here. And to be honest with you, Bob's Edge, I didn't have him on that ticket last time out because of the Lasix factor. Like Pete mentioned earlier, he was off Lasix and he just doesn't run his best races when he's off Lasix. He actually bet on Aloha West. Catalano, he took his good old time, 5 months to bring him back, and then he runs him 7 furlongs against Jackie's Warrior off a long layoff. And then he gives him some time, and for some reason, instead of staying at Churchill, he goes and faces Flightline. I mean, I don't get it. Like,
I'm sorry, who? Who's that? Oh, only the fastest horse in the entire world.
Right. So, I don't know. Bango beat Aloha West in this race last year. So, for me, it's Bango. Aloha West, if it falls apart, I think he needs kind of the race shape to go his way. But yeah, certainly to be keeping good company. Talking to Wayne here at the fairgrounds, I thought we might get to see him here, or at least at Oaklawn. He was really training him he put some works into him at the fairgrounds. I thought he was going to run him in that, I think it's called like the Count Fleet at Oaklawn or something like that. That was kind of the original plan. And then he pulled out and ran him against Jackie's Warrior. So I'm kind of against Aloha West until he proves it to me again. He can come back around and win and show that form that he showed kind of in the end of last year.
He didn't really have any trouble. He didn't have trouble those 2 races. So, no. I mean, if you want to say, well, he was against the flow or he had no chance, I mean, fine. But he basically was just unencumbered in both starts and just, I don't know, it's just really flat. He just didn't do much for me. You're going with an alternative in second, trying to find a bit of a price with number 8, AC Expressway. Very interesting horse here. Yeah, I like AC Expressway. I mean, I think that race last out with Talamo, he kind of drugged Talamo there and put him in the right spot to win that race. And he had an outside post that day. I don't think this horse likes being inside, but now you get Giroux. It's an upgrade there. Florence rode him before. I was looking for a little bit of price underneath. And Norm Cassie, he's had a good meet at Churchill. I like the workouts. I think this horse is coming in well. He's going to sit a good trip on the outside. I was against Aloha West and against Bob's Edge. So I was kind of went price shopping in here. And, I think this horse could be coming up late and sit the good trip and hopefully get there, maybe if not win, at least get second, maybe make a good exacting tryout of it with this horse. I think he's in good form, and Norm Cassie has done well with this horse. Yeah, listen, he's going to be a nice price you can throw underneath. Pete and Paul, I don't want to bore the viewers and listeners. I'll just open it up. First, I'll go to you, Pete. Is there anything you want to add to the Aloha West and or Bango conversation based on what we've said already?
No, the one thing on Bango, had a good stat on Bango with Gaffleone and with Foley with Gaffleone and dirt sprints at Churchill is 10 for 27 wins, 17 out of 27 in the money. So, for a trainer that maybe not everyone knows as a brand name, he's got a nice combination with Tyler there. And Aloha West, I agree. It's one of those where this is the kind of field, though, it's not the highest level field. This is the kind of field would you have hoped maybe they would have brought Aloha West back in first start of the year. Maybe just something a touch softer. Not that I don't think Bango's an awesome horse, but a touch softer than Jackie's Warrior and then Flightline. So this is one where maybe he's able to find himself again. He obviously needs some pace to run into, but I mean, he's a good enough horse. Yeah,
I got a question for everyone here. I want to direct it to Paul first. You know, Wayne, you already mentioned Chad. Wayne is a very patient guy. Listen, he's an excellent trainer, but he's pretty patient, right, Chad? He's coming back in a few weeks here. So, Paul, what do you make of this, like, sort of quick turnaround? Is this just he's just trying to get this horse some confidence? I mean, I can't imagine this was the plan. There's just so many things about this horse that steer me against him on Saturday. Paul, what do you think about the quicker turnaround with this horse? I don't know.
Well, he certainly shouldn't be exerted because he did not run a step in the Met Mile, so that shouldn't hurt him. You know, this could, if you look at this series of races, Chad, you hit the nail on the head. If anyone mapped out this schedule for this horse going into the season, they should be in an institution, because he brings him back against Jackie's Warrior, who's, as you said, Howard, an impossible spot. You know, the Met Mile is annually one of the toughest races in the country, and you know Flightline is coming, and Speaker's Corner was in top form. That was ridiculous.
Let me just push back a little bit. I don't think they realistically thought they were going to win the Met. I think they were just hoping to get some black type. I don't think they figured they'd lose by 11 and only come in fourth. I think they figured, okay, Flightline will probably win, but there's no reason why we couldn't get second. I'm just guessing.
Well, I mean, there was no possible chance he was beating either Flightline or Speaker's Corner.
No.
So you're starting off with third.
But I think those are three better horses right off the jump. I mean, I think even Happy Saver is probably a little. I mean, Aloha West got hot for a nice stretch, and in the Breeders' Cup, you know, fell into a fantastic, you know, meltdown.
This horse owes me nothing, by the way. I like this horse, but
let me say
I just wanted to ask you about the.
Let me just say this, Howard. I kind of like him a little bit in this spot. After all I just said, I think the Churchill Downs, he was much closer to the pace, and as you saw in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, Howard, and you benefited from, that's not the way this horse, I don't think, is at its best. I think he's at his best making one run. I think he's at his best in a shorter race, because those one runs tend to have more oomph to them. So I think the distance is better. I don't think he's going to be as close. I think it's going to be there's more speed in the race. And I'm not a fan of the horse, but I think this is a pretty good spot. Now, I wouldn't bet him at 2-1 at gunpoint, but you know, as far as using him, I think this is a much, much better spot than his last two.
All right, guys, I got to quickly talk about my top choice here, and people can listen. People can laugh, and that's absolutely fine. I get it. I'm not loyal to particular horses or trainers or jockeys. I really try to think logically. Here's my thing with Awesome Jerry. First of all, as Pete and Paul, I think they probably remember, I predicted that he was going to win on April 16th. It was one of my best predictions of the entire year. I picked him on top in the Keelan race on my race day blog, and he won at 21-1 because his first start back at Gulfstream, he got a ridiculous trip that was really sneaky and bad, and I got lucky and it worked out. But then he backed up his race last time, and this horse showed a lot of speed, and this is the first time that Awesome Jerry's actually shown speed from the inside. Now, he beat Gunnett, who was a complete goofball, and Dennis Moment's been very disappointing. So that field is not near the field this one is, but he's got the inside, which he doesn't mind. He's improving, and I know these are big ifs. We're debating about Aloha West right now, and as much as I love Bango, Chad, it's not like that horse is consistent. I mean, maybe Bango's going to run 100 and run off the screen, but Bango could also run a mid-80s and not run well either. So if there's a sort of fuzzy horse that might upset the apple cart here, to me, it's Awesome Jerry. Corrales knows the horse well. He keeps getting better and better. Why not? I'm going with Awesome Jerry on top to upset the field, but fully saying that the 4 and the 5 are more talented horses. We'll have to see.
Hey, Let's Howard, go to the last. I have the one with you on the ticket that we're going to go through later. So I have him on the top line too for the same reason you're talking about. I like an informed horse sometimes in a field that isn't a lock to perform.
All right, guys, let's jump to the Stephen Foster. And Chad, we're going to have you go first. This is the big one, guys, of the day. It's a grade 2. It could easily be a grade 1. I think it used to be a grade 1, actually. It's a grade 2. $750,000 for these 4-year-olds and up males. They're going 1.1 miles on the dirt. It's a field of 7, but boy, is it a really good field. There's 3 horses in particular that are outstanding, and there's some others that are trying to move their way up the ladder. The Moorline favorite is number 6, Mandaloon, for Cox and Drew, coming off a horrendous effort in the Middle East, has been working very well. Chad, you're keeping the faith with Mandaloon and the connections here. That is who you're going on top in the Stephen Foster.
So a couple things here. One is, isn't Stephen Foster night the night they give the engraved Kentucky Derby trophy to the winner of the Derby? Are they just going to do 2 presentations?
I guess I don't know what they're going to do, Chad.
I was just curious. Anyway, yeah, they certainly could. Now look, Mandaloon is a very good workhorse. I'm including all this stuff. I had Brad Cox on the podcast back in February when Mandaloon was working at the fairgrounds, and it was right after he won to Louisiana when he came back, and standing next to him during that race. And I mean, he basically had a midnight bourbon in that race whenever he wanted him. And Brad was like, whoa, we're going to have a lot of fun with this horse this year. And so they pointed him for the Saudi Cup because it's $20 million. The work before he left for the Saudi Cup at the fairgrounds, I mean, I've been around fairgrounds a long time. The clockers that have been there a long time. They had never seen a work that good. And Brad Cox said he's never seen a work that good at fairgrounds on one of his horses. He was the absolute, stunning picture. Thought he'd go over there, and look, things happen when you get across the seas, right? I mean, the track was deep, and nothing really went his way. Bringing back here, I think still the goal with this horse is a classic. He's training good once again. I can tell you all this, just looking at it, I think he's going to have a huge year, so I'm staying on him. He's trained with Folsom. He's jerked him around a couple of times at Churchill. Folsom's come back to win impressively. He's just firing off with Drew, bullet after bullet. The last couple of works, he didn't really have anybody with him, but he works with Warrant. He don't lose in work. He's a good workhorse in the morning. I don't think he could be probably cranked, but I will say this: he's by Into Mischief. Brad Cox, Into Mischief's getting old. This horse obviously is going to be a stallion. You don't want to lose races, even if you need to give a horse a race off a layoff. Brad Cox will have this horse ready. For me, I think, this race is okay. There's Proxy in here, some others, but I think his main competition is his stablemate, and I think, he's in there because he deserves a chance, and he's going to be a speed horse, and he'll keep everything honest. I think Mandaloon comes back and romps this field. I really do. I think he romps this field.
Well, I was blown away with his effort in Louisiana in February off the layoff. I mean, I thought he just went by Midnight Bourbon so easily in that race, Chad. I loved him in the Saudi Cup. I'm not afraid. I'm not embarrassed to say it. And he just didn't fire at all. He was like in between horses. He was climbing, just the whole thing. You could tell after the first quarter that he wasn't going to run. I totally understand how you're going to keep the faith. Do you think he'll be favored? He is favored in morning line.
Yeah,
he will go off favorite.
No doubt.
Probably 8-5. You think he'll be lower than 2-1?
If Brad Cox is having a good night and She Dares the Devil wins, or a couple other ones win, guess what? This one's going to be taking some money for sure.
Chad, I want to stay with you a little because you've got a horse that, frankly, I don't like at all in this spot, and I have a ton of respect for you, as you well know. You've got the other Cox horse in second, Cattle River, who is getting better and better. I'll give him that. I have major concerns about the 1.1 miles for this horse, though.
I picked him in third because I think, it could be a speed favorite in track. And, the 4-week turnaround here is something I'm a little worried about. But Santana's going to take the bull by the horns, I think, and get this horse out there and let him do his thing. I'm going to tell you, that last race, Howard, he came home with 23-2. He looked like, he wasn't running by much or beating a lot in that race, but he did it really impressively.
Okay.
I think he's, this race is interesting. It's all 4-year-olds and title ready, which is,
Yeah,
I think all these 4-year-olds, they're just. I think we have a good group of them, and for the older horse division, I think Cattle River is ready to step up. He's kind of earned it. The question mark is the distance, right? But
is he going to go to the lead, Chad? Do you think he's going to more of a target for Mandaloon? Is that the plan?
I think he does. He could be the only one out there. I think these jocks, you know how they have a tendency to, okay, Calderon, he's going on the lead. Let him go. He'll come back to us. He can't go a mile and an eighth.
Yeah,
then they turn for home and he scoots away and see you later. And they got Brad Cox running 1-2.
I thought the pace situation's real murky here, Chad. I didn't know what to make the pace situation in this race.
Yeah, well, Olympia, we saw him down here at the fairgrounds. This horse makes his trips every time. He gives such good trips all the time. I just think the luck has to run out at some point. I don't know if I'm saying luck the right way, but this horse can he keep winning? I was against him last time just because I said the same thing. Can he really keep winning?
Good horses make their own trip, though. You're gonna make people who are a fan of good horses upset with that comment.
No, he does, and he's done nothing wrong. Really, he's done nothing wrong.
Nothing.
I'm just against him because I think he's gonna take more money, and I just think it's one of these races he has to lose.
I sort of agree with you. He's a really nice horse, but I don't think he's faced the likes of American Revolution or Mandaloon, to be very honest. So we'll have to see. Chad, I might be wrong. I had 6-1-2 for you. I think you just said you had Kettle River third. So if I made a mistake,
I had 6-1-2. I had 6-1-2.
Okay. Just want to make sure I was right. All right. Who do I go next to? Paul, let's go to you, because Paul, we got to talk about American Revolution. All right. Now, as you guys remember, or you might remember, and Chad, I want to show something. I want to show something from the last time that we talked about American Revolution. And let's make no mistake about it. I am wrong all the time. We talk about this, but I'm also right sometimes. I want to show a very short clip, if you guys don't mind, from our last show when American Revolution. We were talking about American Revolution. I was completely against this horse, as Pete and Paul might remember, for a lot of reasons. And I'm not bringing this up to my own horn. I want to bring this clip up to remind people of American Revolution's situation going into his last race, because it was a very unique, weird scenario that led into his defeat. So just very quickly, I'm going to show a clip from a month ago on this show, me talking about American Revolution and why I did not like him in this spot. And by the way, Chad, you see the one and only Kevin Kilroy, who joined us on the bottom of the screen there for this show. Yeah. American Revolution was supposed to run in a mile race. This is not the intended spot for this horse. Now, does that mean he's going to lose? No. He might run off the screen. But he was supposed to run in a mile race. This is a mile and eighth, and he shipped him to Churchill, a track he's never been to and he's never worked on. And he's off a big layoff. If you're going to be an American Revolution, today is the day. All right, so that was me talking. I was I'm not doing. Guys, stop it! Come on, you guys know me. I don't need to.
Hey, Pete. He went looking for the folder of clips where I was right, and that was in it.
That's the biggest folder on the screen. You know that.
I'll tell you what.
It's not that full, but it's on there. It's not
only that, Chad. I picked Dynamic One to win the race, and this guy right down there in the bottom corner thought I was nuts and thought Dynamic One had no chance. By the way, nice call on Mozzarella last week, Paul. Want to throw you some kudos. Nice call on Mozzarella last week.
You mean gerrymander?
I'm sorry, my bad. Gerrymander.
That was a very good call, wasn't it?
Yes, it was an excellent call. Anyway,
Can we see the clip of it, please?
I think I lost that clip. I only clipped of myself.
Hey, Howard. Hey, Howard.
Clips of myself being right. I do have clips of you guys being wrong. In fact, let's talk about. Just kidding.
Hey, Howard. By the way, that's my son, and that's Jackson in the comments right there. Collectible kid. So he's no cursing while he's in there.
All right. There we go. Anyway. Now I just lost my train of thought. What do we got?
Well, Howard, I can tell you this. I didn't have American Revolution on that pick 4 ticket. I didn't have a ticket either.
I agree with you. Guys, before I get more shit, here's my point. American Revolution had a lot of things going against him in that last race. Paul, you've got him on top. I'm going to let you talk first. What is it you like about American Revolution? Other than the fact, of course, the obvious, he's a New York bred.
Well, I started the sequence with a Pennsylvania bred, and I'm ending it with a New York bred. A Constitution. No, I do. That's all valid points. That was a 6-month layoff. It was a tougher spot than looked because Dynamic One had won the Wood, had run well, almost won the Wood. He got beat by Bourbonic, the 71 shot. I think trip-wise, this horse is looking at a much different trip. I agree with, I think it was Chad who said the Caddo River goes, especially with him being the other Cox. I think this horse is going to probably have the rail, sit a pretty good trip. Saez had ridden him 6 or 7 times in a row, but he was not there last time. I think Olympiad's formidable, but again, I do agree with Chad. When does it end? And I just think to your point, Howard, it's a much different circumstance. I still think the horse is loaded with talent. I said it last time. They were almost a coin flip away from going to the Travers last year out of that New York bred Albany win, and they went to the Pennsylvania Derby instead, and he certainly acquitted himself fairly well with Hot Rod Charlie and Midnight Bourbon. So I'm going back on Independence Day weekend. I'm going to play the Constitution named American Revolution.
Isn't it great, guys, that this is what I love about horse racing. Some days you love a horse, and that exact same horse you hate the next time, or vice versa. I love American Revolution in this spot. I understand Mandaloon is very good, and Olympiad's good, but you know what? I think they pointed this spot. I think Pletcher, you talked about Chad, maybe the connections were a little bit pissed that Pauline's Pearl ran poorly, and they worked him 3 times. Check out the work pattern for American Revolution. Todd has kept this horse at Churchill Downs, has 2 really good works. I mean, they are pointing this spot big time. I think he's also going to sit a great trip. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I think he can sit right off of Caddo River, maybe actually in second, depending on how aggressive Saez is. Distance is not a problem. I'm not going to keep going on. I absolutely love this horse in this spot. Pete, you are going with Caddo River, and I got to tell you, if this horse wins, I'm going to tip my cap because as I mentioned with Chad, I just don't like this horse at all. But obviously, you think this horse is on the come. It's the other Cox. You're going to get a big price.
Yeah, it's more the price, and it's not like it's not like I'm just putting Caddo River. It's not like I'm singling Caddo River. Actually on my ticket I have all the logicals and Caddo River, and because the other ones are so low, I'm like, let me take a price. This is a horse that last 3 has been improving. It is Cox. It's not like this horse was ever a bum. This was always a pretty good horse. It never seemed to put it all together, and maybe now it's starting to. And again, I do agree the distance could be a problem, or maybe just the level of competition and the step up is obviously going to be tough. But if this one takes another step up and can, go from 92, 99, 100, maybe it takes another step up, I'll take it at the price. I'm obviously not going to lose if Mandaloon, American Revolution, or Olympiad wins, because I like all of them. I think, like you were talking about, American Revolution is probably pointing to this. You could point to a race and still lose it. Obviously, you can, because there's just some other horses are just better, and we don't know who the best is because they all have a little bit of a question mark, except for really Olympiad. He's the one who's just been super consistent, but this is obviously a step up in competition for him as well.
Chad, I'm going to let you end the conversation in this race, then we'll get to our pick 5s. I know some very smart handicappers that are a little bit interested in Last Samurai, thinking that there could be some pace in this race, that he's just getting better and better. This horse is now trained by D. Wayne. I mean, you can go with the worst long shot in this race, right?
No, I agree. And look, a mile and 1/8 may be too short for this horse. I had this horse in my stable mail since the Razorback, and basically was the further the better for this horse. So, he beat Fearless, who came back and won, at Belmont last time. Not even for they give him some time off. He's doing really well since the transfer. I can tell you that he's he's been working really well at Churchill Downs. He hasn't went over the track. If something weird happens, I guess he could be coming late and kind of pick up the pieces there.
But a piece,
he could get a piece. I get the point with Caddo River and all. And I can tell you, American Revolution, those last 2 works you mentioned, he stayed at Churchill Downs. He worked with Dynamic One both times.
Okay. Do you know if he outworked? I'm assuming he outworked him. I don't. Dynamic One is more of a plotting type anyway.
There's nothing really big in that. Just
I was sort of surprised Dynamic One didn't come back in this spot. I know people.
That was my question to you guys. Where do you think he's going?
Maybe they're waiting for a spot at Saratoga. I would guess that'd be my guess. I don't. There's plenty of nice races at Saratoga. I don't know. Paul, any clue?
I'm gonna guess one race, and then they may take a crack in the Whitney.
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know
right.
the particular
I would
spot
say
that they're going in.
Another thing interesting in this race, the earnings. Last Samurai, American Revolution, Olympiad, all at 950 something thousand. So one little piece of a check and it just a millionaires.
Very cool. All right, guys, let's get to our. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed that conversation with the. Let's quickly go through the pick five. I'm going to read it off for everyone because again, we have people listening on later on the audio platforms and can't see the picks on the screen. Chad's pick five. Again, these are all Cavemans. Many of us play ABC tickets, but if we were to play straight Caveman tickets, Chad's pick five. He's going 1, 2, 4 with 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. With 4, 5, with 1, 4, 5, 8, with 6. Again, 1, 2, 4 with 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. With 4, 5, with 1, 4, 5, 8, with a very gutsy single on the end. A strong believer of Mandaloon, $84. You want to talk about just a minute about your ticket instruction here, Chad?
I'm just trying to get the Mandaloon.
Yeah, I mean, pretty simple, right?
Yeah, just trying to get the Mandaloon at the end. And spread there in the middle. Want to try to get it started. Probably have the 3 favorites in the first leg. Get a spread ticket, hope for a price in the second, or with that 11 horse, the Optimizer horse, and then I have She There's the Devil and Pauline's Pearl. So 1 speed horse, 1 come from behind horse, basically in there, and then 1, 4, 5, 8 was the. You see, I did use Awesome Jerry. Yeah, I had Awesome. I thought I had
Awesome Jerry. Yep.
Yeah, I used Awesome Jerry now because Safi Joseph. Look, man, I mean, he hasn't had the strongest Churchill Downs meet, and he's a Florida trainer. But I give that horse an outside shot. So if he wins, I get a couple price horses in there. I'll be all in on Mandaloon.
Yeah, and that'll be a nice ticket. And I agree that second race is. I mean, I'm not going as deep as you are, but I mean, who the hell knows? I mean, I've started giving you guys a little bit of crap about Kuchar, but Kuchar can win. I mean, it's a wide open field. Pete, let's go to your pick five. Pete's got a $72 ticket. He is singling the 4 in the first leg with 6, 8, 9, with 2, 4, 5, with 1, 3, 4, 5, with 1, 2, 3, 6. Again, 4 with 6, 8, 9, with 2, 4, 5. With 1, 3, 4, 5, with 1, 2, 3, 6. You're gonna hope to survive in advance of the first leg, Pete.
Yeah, you don't mind that as much because then when it craps out,
come
you
back
just
to that
play
pick
the pick 4, baby. We just do it right back. The only thing I would probably switch, and I thought about this after I sent it, is I would in the third leg I would probably only go with Pauline's Pearl and maybe She Dares the Devil, drop the 2 from sort of the top line, and maybe go a little deeper. I'm not sure who I would put in yet, but go a little deeper in that second leg since it is pretty wide open. But I do like the choices in that second leg. And then, in the fourth leg, I probably wouldn't play it this way just because you don't want to have the 3 favorites. You don't want to have Mandaloon, American Revolution, and, you got to make a stand with Olympiad. You got to make a stand on one of them, at least on the top ticket if you're playing higher denominations. But for purposes of this Caveman, I could see any of the 3 winning with no question. So I wouldn't mind just having them being live to all of them.
Where's Kiddodon?
Kiddodon is going to be on a side ticket. I want to have that horse, but it doesn't run on.
Why do you just toss him out just like that? Thanks, but
hey, that was the time. Damn. That was the time. This horse doesn't like. If it was on,
villain, man, he's lethal.
If it was on turf, he'd be on the top line for sure. But back on the dirt, it's not really his forte.
Yeah, I hear you. Listen, like I said, sometimes you love, sometimes you hate. Paul, you've got 1, 4, 6 with 5, 8, 9, with 1, 5, with 4, 5, with 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Again, Paul's ticket, $90. 1, 4, 6 with 5, 8, 9, with 1, 5, with 4, 5, with 1, 2, 3. 5, 6. Paul, give us your advice on the ticket, sir.
Well, I want to be able to, on a Caveman ticket. And, it's funny, just very quickly, Howard, we've talked so many times about ticket structure. And, a few weeks ago, I gave out a winning Caveman ticket, and I played ABC myself and didn't hit it. Last weekend, I gave out a losing Caveman ticket, a 4 for 5, but hit it on my ABC ticket, the one at the cross country. So
what are we doing this week?
So ABC, of course.
This week we're just losing all the legs, right? Right, Paul? We're just going to go down.
That's happened. So I do like I like the Constitution Colt in the first. I want to be able to. I think Runaway Wife has a puncher's chance there. It'll be probably a B on my ABC, but I don't want to on a Caveman not have that horse. Second leg, I did narrow it down. No, I didn't. I went McLaren Vale, Howard, the horse you and I liked, but I used Kuchar. And again, Rattle and Roll is more of a B and C player for me, but I did throw him on this ticket. On the third leg, I went with only the 4-5, Pauline's Pearl and She Dares the Devil. I think. Is that right? Did I go?
You skipped the third leg with Awesome. You've got Awesome Jerry and Bango in the third leg.
No, I have Super Quick and.
Or I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Super Quick and.
I did not use Pauline's Pearl. I went.
That
race, I wanted to use the one, and I didn't. I'm not going 3 deep in a Caveman and a 5-horse field. And then in the fourth leg, I did narrow it down to Bango and Aloha West. I talked about Aloha West.
Shocked out there.
And look I'm a big Mandaloon fan. I understand exactly what Chad's doing here, but I got to tell you, if he doesn't win, obviously I think there are 3 or 4 others. So I would, on my perfect world, on my ABCs, I get all A's in, and I'd like to have a shot to beat him in this race.
All right, here comes my ticket. Is Howard singling anyone? And if he is, who is it? Let's find out, everyone. Here we go. Here's my ticket. It's $90. I'm sort of thinking the same way that Chad is thinking. I'm singling on the end. I'm going 1-4-6 with 5, 6, 10, 11. So Chad, I'm using your 11. I think he's interesting in that race. I've got 1-4-5 with 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 with 2. I'm singling. I want to be Loud American Revolution. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's fine. Listen, guys, it's 4th of July weekend. I've got a single American Revolution and Constitution. I mean, come on. And I had We the People a few weeks ago. I mean, I'm just going to bet every horse that has anything to do with American history. I'll tell you what, it's worked out pretty well for me so far. Anyway, again, I've got 1-4-6, 5, 6, 10, 11 with 1-4-5 with 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 with 2. Guys, I think my main thinking overall is I do not trust a bunch of horses in the Kelly's Landing. I really don't. I understand Bob's Edge is probably, an unnecessary horse to use, but he's run big numbers before. I don't trust Bango, and I don't trust Aloha West in that spot. And I think if you can beat those 2, you're really going to press up this ticket a lot. So that was my thinking. I'm only going 4 deep in the American Derby, which scares the living crap out of me because there's a lot of things that can happen in that second leg. I do feel pretty good about my other legs. And similar to Chad, I just want to be alive to my favorite horse in the Stephen Foster. Guys, this is a great sequence. I've had a great time. Chad, I'm going to let you have the final say about the sequence on Saturday. Any thoughts about the sequence Saturday? Anything going forward? We got Saratoga, Del Mar coming up. Anything you want to going on down south in your area?
No, not really. Just usually the time after the Belmont till Saratoga starts is kind of my downtime. The kids are home from summer and all that, so I'm not paying too much attention during the week. I'm usually a weekend warrior when it comes to this part of the calendar for me before Saratoga ramps up. And I know how you guys feel after the Triple Crown. You kind of need to decompress. I mean, all those races kind of hit you at once. It's a lot of handicapping that we do and watching replays and doing all that stuff. So this is kind of, I like this night because it kind of reinvigorates me a little bit to go back and start looking at, trips and stuff like that and kind of updating your stable mail. So I like doing this around 4th of July, and then I'll kind of, take a break again until Saratoga starts. But I appreciate being on, Howard, always. And, man, I enjoy talking horse racing with you guys.
Chad, we love having you on. We want to wish you luck with your kids and all their baseball and t-ball. Go win the whole darn thing with them, or at the very least, make sure they have fun. Of course, that's the most important thing when it comes to youth sports. I'm sure we'd all agree. We'd love to have you on again. We really appreciate your support of the HHH Racing Podcast, Chad, and have a great rest of the summer. We'll be talking to you down the road. For Chad Schexnayder and my wonderful co-hosts, Pete Visco and Paul Halloran, this has been Howard Kravitz, episode 155 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Wishing everyone a fantastic day at the betting windows this Saturday at Churchill Downs for Stephen Foster Day. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night.
Bye.